Guys, after a little more research and honestly experiencing my Pajero firsthand, I think I might actually owe the Mitsubishi President an apology. What's up everybody, how's it going, and welcome to this episode of Car Rant. Yes, if you were here back in July, you would remember that I kind of tore into the Mitsubishi President for seemingly being tone deaf to what Mitsubishi's own shareholders want to see come out of the company, namely that of a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution. In articles that we linked in that video, and the link to that video will be down below, we talked about how they just haven't done well, and the fact is that this is kind of like the best time for them to do a nostalgic pitch. After all, Ford has done extremely well with the Bronco. The Nissan Z is looking like it's going to be extremely promising. The Supra helped bring back some hype to the Japanese house of cars. And the Type R kind of helped be the harbinger of what is to come for, well, anything involving an older name. So, with that said, why do I need to give the Mitsubishi President an apology? Well, it starts with that Pajero that I now daily drive. You see, this Pajero is a 1990 Mitsubishi Pajero Exceed wagon. It is a big boy, and it is fully kitted with every possible option, it seems like, from factory, just without the rear door. In other words, I basically had like the Land Rover, Range Rover, whatever you want to call it, of the lineup, being the longest wheelbase and all the bells and whistles with lockers and everything else. And it really kind of helped change my perspective on what the Mitsubishi President had to say. I mean, if you watched our last episode, I know it was a long one where we went out camping and we took a little off-roading and did some fun stuff. Towards the end of that video, you would see that we absolutely love this truck. Ish and I both were just absolutely stunned by how its performance was, how just stable it was out the door, the amount of fun we could have, even if it wasn't anything intense like bouldering. Like, you could still just do whatever it is you wanted to do in this thing. And it was truly an impressive thing to witness and be a part of. So, keeping all of that in mind, and then going back to what the Mitsubishi President had to say about wanting consumers to experience the Mitsubishi-ness of their vehicles and then bringing back rally art, kind of got my gears going in my head. Because the Pajero, as I came to find out, was a vehicle that was very good at just surviving everything. Yeah, it may not have had the same level of limelight as something like a Land Cruiser would have had, you know, the FJ80s and things like that, but this thing was solid. So much so that people who are from around the world will stop me when I'm in traffic or just coming out of the car in a parking lot and tell me about how these cars were in their country and people loved them and they wanted to bring them here to the States but couldn't afford to do the whole export thing. Basically, these things are beloved around the world for just being super good, super reliable, basically a Honda Civic of off-road when it comes to just taking it and just continuing to exist. In fact, one guy told me where he was from out there in the Middle East that the local military would actually go to the dealerships, buy the trucks, and spray paint them green and put them straight into service. Can't verify that, but given how this truck is, that sounds pretty accurate to me. At the very least, I could easily see that happening, especially when you're talking about smaller countries with low budgets. I was also reminded of the fact that these trucks were put into Dakar almost stock. It's wild, it's crazy to think that a truck that you could go to the showroom floor was then put straight out onto the rally with very little prep work done. Like, that's pretty insane. The last time anything like this happened that I can remember was the Ford Raptor, and even it had some issues. So knowing that the Pajero went out to do the Dakar rally, the Paris to Dakar rally, and was relatively successful says a lot about the Pajero. And if that's what the Mitsubishi President wants to get back to, I'm okay with it. Very much okay with it. Because every single person that has ever driven my Pajero, been a passenger in it, or just experienced it, seen it and all its quirks and little features, they love the thing. They're like, yeah, I would totally buy this if I knew where to get one. And that speaks a lot for a 31-year-old truck as of this recording. In fact, some people I know would rather drive the Pajero than drive, say, a newer vehicle, or even ones that are outfitted similarly that are just more modern. And that, to me, speaks a lot to your consumer base if you're Mitsubishi. People want to see trucks like the Pajero back in service. And realistically, we still have something that kind of fell in line with it. It just had more or less become more and more benign as the years went on. After the Pajero was tragically ended in the mid to late 2000s, it had some contenders try to fill its space, namely the Outlander, but it really couldn't do all the same things that, say, my Pajero Exceed could. And it became more benign as time went on. But hearing the Mitsubishi president say that he wants to bring back the brand to what made Mitsubishi great makes me think and hope that he's talking about these early glory days from the 80s into the 90s, where our vehicles were just super capable and very dominant at what they did. They were very much built for a purpose, and they did it well, and people loved them for it. If Mitsubishi is gonna go back and bring back the Rally Art name and try to build an Outlander Rally Art that is almost an homage to the Pajero evolution, they're gonna make a killing. They're gonna make incredibly good amounts of money because people like myself who are familiar with that kind of territory are gonna want to test drive it, and they're gonna want to see, can it do exactly what the old models used to be able to do? Can it bring back that old Mitsu glory that we just so desperately need to bring back? And the reason why I'm saying that I'm apologizing to the Mitsubishi president, even though I've never actually met the man but would love to someday do so, is because if this can become as successful as I hope and pray that it will, and especially if they take notes on their previous works and endeavors and put those towards this new setup, I think that it would be a great way for us to be able to get the Evo back, simply because we will be able to reline the wallets, reinforce our budget, and be able to actually see something like that come to light. The last thing that anyone wants to see happen is to see an incredibly good brand fall apart. And given that Mitsubishi was a great brand, but just slowly but surely started bleeding money profusely, is not a good sign. It's not healthy, and it actually makes your fan base very nervous. If you're able to bring back that same level of glory from the old Pajero days into the newer Outlander days, I think you'll be able to save the brand enough to bring back our most beloved of sports cars, especially on this channel, that being the Evo. Oh, yes! And now I pitch the question to you guys. Do you think, with what the Mitsubishi president has said, and given my experiences with the Pajero, if you have a Pajero or have been in one or experienced it yourself, do you think that them trying to bring back the Rally Art name and applying all their Rally Art tech to an Outlander could help save the brand enough and revive that Pajero spirit within the brand enough so that we could get an Evo? Do you think it's a good idea? Let us know down below. We love to have conversations down in the comment section, because for us, it means you guys care about what we're talking about, and it helps our numbers out tremendously. So without further ado, chat us up. Let's talk. Thank you guys for watching. God bless y'all. Check out our merch links to help support us so we can continue to put gas in our Pajero. And we'll see you guys next time.